It not only snowed this morning, but I think we are only about 3 weeks away from Christmas, which means it's time to start talking winter favorites. So I thought we could kick things off with a What's New from Hermes Winter Edition update, discussing the latest and greatest and coziest Hermes launches for the upcoming colder month. And I also want to include some of my favorite classic staple Hermes winter favorites here, pieces that you might have not heard of, but I will try to focus on some of the newer launches that are in stores now or should be in the coming weeks. So if you're looking to get some inspiration for what to add to your winter wardrobe, or maybe pieces to put on your letter to Santa, then make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and keep on watching. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of winter luxury? Well, for me, it is definitely cashmere, and if anyone knows how to craft the most beautiful, soft, cozy, plush cashmere pieces, it is Hermes. And the first thing that I would suggest that you invest in something that will not break the bank but will add an incredibly luxurious facet to your collection, and is also a piece that you will get your money's worth out of, because this is something that you can wear every single day in the winter. So the first piece that I wanted to start with is the cashmere muffler, which is the piece that I go back to time and time again. In a second, we'll move on to some of the new iterations of this piece, considering that it is a What's New from Hermes update, but I did want to put this on your radar in case you have not heard me talk about these pieces, because if you're looking to get a cashmere scarf from Hermes for yourself or buy a gift for someone else, I don't think there is a single person out there who wouldn't enjoy having one of these in their collection. They do these in a ton of different colors and they're always double-sided. This is the so-called verso. I think it's called the recto verso cashmere muffler. It is 100% really soft, buttery plush cashmere, and then there are always two different but complementary colors. So I have one here in charcoal, and then the reverse side is black, but they also do them in some more vivid colors. They also do them in black with some other variations. So this is black and charcoal, but last year I bought one that is marine and black on the other side, so you have plenty of different colors to choose from. And then the only other detail that I could bring to your attention is the really discreet Hermes embroidery that every single scarf will feature. Now obviously the darker you go with the scarf, the more subtle the embroidery is going to be, but if you go for one of the lighter colors, it is going to be slightly more obvious, but the embroidery is always tone on tone. And because this is part of the men's collection, it is slightly smaller, which means that it is also a little bit less expensive than some of the other pieces we'll move on to. So I think these start at, well, they don't start, I think they are $535, something along those lines. Speaking of which, they have a women's version of this, which the only difference is that it is a little bit wider and it is a lot longer, which means that you can wrap it around your neck. A few times it's something that they call a stole instead of a scarf, and I think that one is called the double face stole. So this is just over $500, whereas that scarf is, I think, $1,300, but it is the exact same idea. It will feature two different but complementary colors on each side. It also features a similarly discreet Hermes embroidery, and the only difference is the size. So you just kind of have to figure out whether you prefer a shorter scarf or something that is a little bit longer and more substantial. And before we move on to the latest reiteration of the cashmere muffler, I did want to mention the new Libris scarves here in case you're looking for something a little bit more delicate and something a little bit lighter. It's not really comparable to the cashmere muffler because this is something that would genuinely keep you warm, whereas the new Libris scarf is, I mean, of course it is a scarf, so it is going to keep you warm, but it feels a lot lighter, a lot more delicate, but will add a little bit more pop to an outfit because it also features the iconic Ex Libris print, or a take on the Ex Libris print. Those scarves are, I think, 85% cashmere and 15% silk, and they are incredibly beautiful. So if you're looking for something a little bit more delicate, a little bit softer, those are a great piece to add to your collection. I think they start at just under $1,100, and they come in a huge range of different colors. I have seen those in orange. That's a classic color they do every single season. They do them in white, in black, in beige. I have also seen them offer it in like a poppy, really vibrant shade of pink. They have also done it in navy blue. So if you're looking for something that is somewhere between a traditional Hermes silk scarf and a cashmere scarf, that would be, I think, a great compromise. But going back to the cashmere muffler, there is a new exceptional take on this piece, which if you're familiar with the Hermes scarf range, you know that they usually offer an exceptional scarf each and every single season, but they're usually a silk scarf. Well, for this current season, they are doing a new take on the cashmere muffler with a leather pocket. So if you're looking for a head turning piece, something that looks like something that has just walked off the runway, that would be an incredibly beautiful collector's piece to add to your collection. It features a saddle inspired leather patch with a built-in pocket, which might sound like an overkill, but it actually isn't because of the way it's crafted. So the pocket is really seamlessly kind of blended with the leather patch. It almost looks like it's cut from the same piece of leather. The craftsmanship, of course, is as outstanding as you would expect it to be from Hermes. That scarf, I think, is $3,000, but if you're looking for a true collector's piece, something that will stand out from the crowd, look no further, because that scarf is out now, and I doubt that there is a lot of it floating around out there. And speaking of scarves, if you're really trying to stay warm, you know you also need a beanie and a pair of gloves. And if you're looking to buy a matching set, well, Hermes has got you covered, because they do have a few different sets for you to choose from each year. So the pair of gloves that I have here, which I also have the matching beanie for, is from the men's collection from a couple of years ago. I don't think that this particular design is still around, but it features this really soft, I don't even think you're going to be able to see it on camera, but it features this really, really subtle H detail, which is not an embroidery, it's kind of woven into the knit. It's part of the knit, but it features this really subtle H detail, which they also had a matching beanie for that I have. But for this current season, my favorite design is the Heaven collection, which they do have a Heaven beanie, they have the Heaven gloves, and even a headband, all of which feature this incredible Shandong inspired pattern. And by the way, this entire collection is available in a few different colorways. So I think they're doing this collection in navy, in gray, in off-white, in pink and orange. Well, I'm actually not sure about the navy, but it definitely comes in a few different colors. And the gloves are $450, whereas the beanie is $540. So it is something that is definitely up there in price, but I don't think it would break the bank, whether you're looking to add a piece of Hermes cashmere to your collection or you're looking to treat someone to it. It would be a really fun way to put a little bit of Hermes Shandong into your life. When it comes to shoes, I feel like I only ever hear people raving about the sheep, the Oran, and the bouncing sneakers from Hermes, even though if Hermes deserves recognition for anything, it should be their boots, because no one does boots quite like Hermes does, which they have a proven track record of crafting some of the most beautiful head-turning classic timeless pieces like the jumping boots, which I still think there is a time and a place for it. If you're looking for a classic pair of boots, something that you have in your collection forever, a piece that will never cease to turn heads, the jumping boots would be an amazing investment. Those are not for the faint of heart. I think in the shorter length they start at $2,600. It also depends on which height you go for, because they not only do the classic jumping boots, but they also offer them in a shorter version in case you're more petite or you have calves that are a little bit skinnier, because if they are, you might struggle to pull off the original jumping boots just because the opening is so wide. but I think that is an incredible collection to look into. They of course do them in box, they do them in seasonal finishes with seasonal prints and seasonal colors, so that would be an amazing staple for you to invest in. But when it comes to newer launches, there are, in case you're a fan of the Kelly twist closure but you're looking for something a little bit more edgy, something a little bit more contemporary, I think you will really like the look of, I think they're called the funk boots for women and they're called the fierce boots for men, but it is the same idea, which it is a pair of lace-up boots that kind of remind me of the sort of shoes you'd see on soldiers. So they do have this really rigid, hard look to them, but then they are paired with that really soft, delicate look of the Kelly twist closure that so many of us out there love. So those would be a nice and interesting piece for you to look into. Again, these are things that you would have in your collection for a really, really long time. They have a really cool utilitarian, kind of firm and really bold look to them, which I think a lot of people would appreciate. And these are the kind of things that you can really easily adapt. You can dress them down or dress them up. So those are also great investment pieces. And if you're looking for something that really heavily plays into this utilitarian look, the fresh ankle boots, I think you would also really enjoy, which I unboxed a few months ago. They do them in a few different colors, both for men and women, and they're made of the softest, most lightweight parachute nylon. So if you're looking for a pair of boots that you really don't have to worry about, something that you can wear rain or shine, something that you can genuinely walk through the mud. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but I don't think that these shoes would fall apart. The fresh ankle boots, I think you would really enjoy having in your collection, and it is also a lot more conservatively priced than some of the previous boots that we discussed. If you've been with me for a while, you know how much I love Hermes ready to wear. I have bought some beautiful, incredibly cozy knits and even jackets from the brand over the years, but I feel like nothing really beats their equestrian line when it comes to really warm, comfortable, and also flattering pieces. Because what I love about the Hermes equestrian line, especially when it comes to their winter pieces, is that obviously they were designed for horse riding, so they cannot afford to be overwhelming, they cannot be restricting, because when you're on a horse you need full control, but you also need pieces that keep you warm. So I love the Hermes equestrian line. If it's something that you haven't looked into just yet, I would highly suggest adding some of their pieces on your radar, starting with the cocoon base layer, which, if you love the Uniqlo thermal layers, this is basically just a really fancy version of that. They're made of the thinnest, softest, and I'm not exactly sure how, but the warmest merino wool. These are things that were designed to go underneath things, so you can wear these under a blazer or even a chunky knit, but you could of course wear these by themselves. They do these both for men and women in a couple of different colors, but blue marine is kind of the color that you will see more often as part of the equestrian line. It also features a really simple little zip, but I mean, there's nothing extremely special about this other than the fact that they feel insanely soft and they will keep you unbelievably warm. So if you are looking for a really nice layering piece, this might be something nice to add to your collection, especially if you are someone who likes to go for walks in the winter, or if you have a dog and you have to take them on walks in the colder month. This, I know, is a piece that you would really enjoy. And then, speaking of wintry pieces from the equestrian line, one of my favorite pieces from Hermes is their Pumino, I think it's called, their Pumino puffy jacket, which, speaking of things that are flattering but will keep you warm, this is the perfect example of that, because most winter jackets will make me look like the Michelin Man, but this doesn't. And I don't actually have this piece. I have been looking at this for years. I bought, I think it's called the Fjord jacket that I bought. No, it's not called the Fjord. It has a different name. I have bought a different winter jacket from Hermes before, but this is definitely on my radar. I remember when I first started looking at this piece, it was just under $2,000, whereas now it is closer to $3,000. But if you're looking for a down jacket, but something that will not, just make you look like a balloon, this is definitely something that I would love for you to look into. Again, this is something that is offered for both men and women. They do them in a few different colors. I have seen them do this in navy, in black. It's one of those rare pieces that they also offer in black. It also comes in orange, and I think maybe a shade of red. But if you're looking for a winter jacket and you don't mind spending a little bit more money on it, this might be something nice for you to check out. Not to mention that you can also buy a matching winter jacket for your pups, because Hermes is now also doing winter coats for dogs, which are inspired by their saddle pads. So they have the same quilting as the Hermes saddle pads, which I have to be honest, I have kind of been underwhelmed by the Hermes dog range thus far, but I am kind of tempted by this winter jacket because I feel like most winter jackets made for dogs are just not the cutest, but I love the simplicity of this piece, and I'm hoping that because these are inspired by their pieces made for horses, Hermes knows what they're doing and they would actually keep our fur babies warm. So if you are looking to match with your fur baby after buying the Pumino jacket, just keep in mind that now they're also offering winter jackets for dogs for the humble price. I think the medium and large sizes are just over $1,000. And last but not least, before we move on to the it bag of the season, I wanted to put this ring on your radar, which is actually a piece of fashion jewelry. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm not usually the biggest advocate of pieces of fashion jewelry because I find most of them to be way too overpriced and overrated, especially in comparison to Hermes's fine jewelry, which yes, it is going to be a little bit more expensive, but fashion jewelry is not something that will last, whereas fine jewelry you will have in your collection for a lifetime. But this ring I am blown away by. I think this would add such a beautiful, bold statement piece to your collection without being overdone or overwhelming. If you love a really simple, understated yet incredibly chic piece, this I would love for you to check out, which is the so-called core ring that they're offering in gold, rose gold, and silver. Of course, the piece is not made of solid precious metal, but they are precious metal plated, and then they feature a really tiny piece of leather. They do these rings in Swift, and they also offer it with a piece of lizard. Now obviously it matters what the color of the leather is, but I think what it will really come down to is which metal finish you prefer, and thankfully it's available in all three metal finishes that Hermes is so known and loved for. If you know me, you know that rose gold is my personal favorite shade of gold. And if you are looking for a head turning piece but something that is really beautifully understated, something really clean, something that kind of reminds me of old Celine's jewelry, this I would highly recommend looking into. And I think I remember reading that the inspiration for this is the kind of horns that people used to use to announce themselves. So you must have seen it in movies when kings and queens arrived somewhere, they had an entourage that announced them with these horns, and that is what this particular piece is inspired by, which is just a nice piece of heritage and history to know of. But even without knowing that detail, I am just such a big fan of this beautifully minimalist design. Of course, no winter video can be complete without the mention of the Kelly Teddy line, which is officially back. This piece, or these pieces I should say, should start hitting stores in the coming weeks. So if it's something that you would like to add to your collection, make sure that you speak to your boutique about it as soon as you can, because the iconic Kelly Teddy range is making a comeback. Now, if you have been a fan of Hermes for a really long time, you'll be familiar with the original launch, which I think these pieces originally launched at the beginning of the 2000s, which the Kelly Teddy range included a Kelly 35 that was finished with the Kelly Teddy finish, so in suede with a shearling trim. They also did it in a Kelly pochette, and there was also kind of a take on a glove. It was kind of a Kelly pochette, but it was hollow on the inside, so you could put your hands through that. It was almost like a hand warmer. Well, for the current season, for fall winter 2023, they have brought back the original Kelly 35 in a teddy finish. So again, in suede with a shearling trim. And they have also introduced it in a Mini Kelly, but it's not going to be quite as small as the current Mini Kelly 22. It's somewhere between the current Mini Kelly and then the original vintage Mini Kelly, so it is slightly bigger, even though it is probably still 20 centimeters. It definitely feels a little bit taller and a little bit more substantial. So if you are a true Hermes collector, you cannot miss the opportunity to add one of these iconic pieces to your collection. And if you're wondering, I think the Mini Kelly, the current retail price of that piece is 13,300 euros. I'm not sure about the Kelly 35, but that I assume is somewhere around 18,000 maybe. But that is just my educated guess. But I know for a fact that the Mini Kelly retails for 13,000 euros, just over 13,000 euros. So if you're a fan of the Mini Kelly and exceptional bags, I have to be honest, it really doesn't get any cuter than this, because I am not someone who has been really reaching for any one of my smaller bags, but that bag even took my breath away. Well, my friends, this brings us to the end of today's What's New from Hermes Winter Edition. I really hope you enjoyed it and you got some ideas of what to add to your collection this coming winter season. Please let me know what's your favorite winter appropriate luxury piece. I cannot wait to hear your recommendation. And while you're down there, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I really appreciate you being here and watching, and I hope to see you back here with a new video really, really soon.